We are
Filter, No Filter Brothers.
And tonight's conversation is about friends. How many of us have them?
Wow, that's an interesting topic because not too many people have friends.
Nope. And we're going to see.
Now, we talking about
Who is
regular
a friend?
friends, not friends with benefits.
No FWB.
Right.
But we are here in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Tennessee. We are celebrating the beginning of our 3rd season.
Right. We're in the cabins, but we're not doing what they normally do in a cabin.
What they normally do in the cabins? Besides sleep.
Google it.
Okay.
Melanin boys.
Oh.
18 plus.
Oh. Waka waka waka. And we also have our same producer, Lo, who's right here in the background. He's going to say a couple words, I hope.
He's a friend.
Definitely.
Definitely a friend.
Definitely.
Sometime,
Sometime.
but he's a friend today.
So who do we have here with us today?
Well, I don't know. I think we should just let them introduce themselves, starting over here at the left.
Oh my. Okay, so hey everyone, I am Ken.
My name is DC.
Yo, what's up, Kareem?
Milton. Nico.
Deegan.
Deegan, that's an interesting name. Where did
Why?
you come up with that name?
You know, parts from the Bible and parts from other things. I just like Deegan.
Deegan, it sounds like, okay.
Pagan.
Pagan,
Yeah,
Deegan,
All that.
devil,
You gotta
sinful.
Get to know me to find out.
Ooh. Now, we have a lot of listeners now, so do you want to tell anything about yourself?
I'm an easy spirit.
What does that mean, easy spirit?
I'm easy to get along, and until you get to my patience of Job, then you'll find out how bad it can be.
How bad it could be. All right, Nico, give us a little bit about yourself.
We've heard from Nico before.
We have heard from
You
Nico
know,
before.
very colorful stories. Very colorful stories.
Nico is our athlete in the
athlete.
bunch.
Athlete, and now he has his whole beard thing going. It's kind of reddish brown.
X. You got to listen to the old show
Right.
to figure out what he looks like because we described
We
him.
did just, but he looks kind of different now. He looks better before.
Plus 20.
And got that COVID-19 age weight
Right.
on them.
You know, don't we all?
And then we have Milton. Milton's
Milton.
been with us before.
He has.
Yes.
He's the intellectual,
Just as gray as ever.
the owl,
And the
bunch.
the senior, the single counsel.
Native from Cincinnati, the nasty natty.
And he was nasty when he was younger.
Was he?
Yeah.
They called him a Jen.
And then Kareem, you remember Kareem from, what was that? S&M
S&M
101.
101.
So you can go back and listen to that.
Because he thought this trip really was going to be some other kind of trip.
We told him to leave that,
We told him to leave
that
those-
bag
right, in the car.
Right.
Glad to be back, fellas. You know, when we're talking about friendship, it's just going to be exciting today to talk about, you know, different forms of friendship, real friends, fake friends, and how many of us actually enjoy being friends with each other.
Well, thank you for that. And now we're going towards the East Coast to our friend named DC. Tell us about yourself.
DC here, from DC. Pretty much quiet. Pretty much quiet and just kind of laid back type of guy.
What you look like?
Sexy. I'm a gym rat, pretty much.
He is definitely a gym rat. He got the body. He got the six pack. I don't know what's coming out those nipples, but they stick out.
Now you got me looking over like,
Last but not least, tonight in the cabins we are having pajama night, and
We got the ninja.
Ken has a three-piece.
A three-piece ninja outfit.
Three-piece with mesh. It's black.
It's
and
black.
a hoodie.
And see-through in all the right places.
Right. What
Y'all
like
see
to see?
this?
Stand up.
Oh, not gonna stand, but hey,
well, why did you wear it then? You don't want to stand?
Well, you know, I'm ready for the walk show, you know,
Right.
the model show, but
Okay.
we haven't done that
Because
yet.
boy, we
He's
about to
all
say, oh
greased
my
up.
God, we have.
All greased up, lubed up.
But
It
yeah,
reminds me of P Valley, Mississippi.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't even know.
Yeah, you look like MISS,
Crooked
quack,
letter,
the cricket letter I.
Now,
I'm ready to answer some questions.
I think they are ready because we done got them all loosened up
Right.
without the lube.
Right. So, you want to start?
You go ahead and start. You got a list of questions.
Okay. As quick as you can, define what a friend is to you. We'll start with Deegan.
A friend to me is a person that's going to have my best interest, who's going to tell me the truth when I need it, who is going to just be there when I need it. and it's gonna know me.
Nico?
I think, friends to me is like somebody who's gonna accept you no matter what phase of your life you're at that point. Like, you don't have to wear a mask around them. You can just be your 100% authentic self. They're also gonna be consistent with how they treat you, and like Deegan said, they're gonna tell you things that you might not want to hear because they do have your best interests at heart.
Milton?
Friends are loyal, they know your strength, they know your flaws, but they don't know you pride or all.
Great. Friends are the ones that really know who you are and like you anyway.
DC?
I'm gonna say loyalty and honesty. Because when you find people that's loyal to you, they're gonna be honest and getting straight to the point of whether you right or wrong.
Ken?
I think everybody pretty much summed it up. Only thing I can think of is platonic companionship.
Okay.
And that is true, because this group is pretty much that.
You know what? My definition of friends?
What?
That you're gonna loan me some money and not ask for it back.
Well, see, that's not loaning. That's just saying they say they want to loan, but you just know that's a gift.
Right, exactly.
It's a gift.
What's yours?
Well, I would say friendship for me is being able to just be your true self, knowing that you may be judged, but you're being judged out of love and not out of hate.
Okay.
Because a lot of people judge people because they hate them.
So in this room, we have a bunch of people who have known each other for various years. Who in this group is your friend, and how long have you known them? Like, who's the person you've known the longest out of this group? Milton, we'll start with you.
I probably have known Lo the longest, 40 years. We were childhood friends.
The producer? You known him 40 years?
Yes.
Do tell.
Was he like he is now?
Worse.
Worse.
Okay.
So you said childhood friends. So how did y'all even meet? Did y'all meet like on a playground? What happened?
We actually lived on the same street, but we actually became friends when we got to junior high school.
When you got to junior high school.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Lo, you never told us that.
Right.
Yeah, me and Marvin known each other for a pretty long time. Me and Milton known each other for a pretty long time. We finally seen each other again. It was actually at a party. And we didn't even recognize each other. We've been around each other a couple of times, but never recognized each other. One day I happened to look at him, I was like, you know something? We used to play together. He's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, how? And I was like,
Y'all played Twiddly Elite?
No, we played on the streets together.
Jack.
On Pearl Street.
Jump rope.
Hopscotch.
No, we just went to Sadie Hopkins together. That was it.
Y'all went together.
I don't know anything about it. We were volunteer workers.
We went to a Sadie Hopkins dance
Okay,
together.
Deegan.
I was brought into the group by a friend of AJ and Bryce's that we pretty much known each other like 3 years, and then brought me into the group.
Okay. 3 years.
A friend of ours.
We don't have friends.
We don't have friends. Let me just play.
Nico.
Oh,
We're running out of time. Can we go to the next person?
No, but actually,
You want to let Nico go.
actually, the question was, who was your friends with and how long y'all been friends in the
Right.
group?
Who is your friend and how long? It's the longest.
The longest, right?
okay.
You've been the friends in the group.
So for me, I guess it's the 3-piece ninja Ken. Like I've known him for what, about 10 years now.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while. So that's been great. So definitely the longest.
40 years, 10 years, 3 years. Kareem.
All right, I actually knew the host, Bryce, the longest. We went to the same district in Atlanta, Georgia.
ATL.
How long that's been?
Actually, AJ.
Actually, because I'm looking around. No, I don't know you. Like, I don't know.
DC, who you know?
AJ, we've been friends for going on 17 years.
Wow.
Getting to 40. So you have a lot of longevity.
We do. And I guess we should share that we've been knowing each other for about 10, 11 years?
Yep.
Something like that. So that's AJ and Bryce.
And so you know how long it takes to cultivate a relationship.
It's not overnight.
You know,
for our listeners, it does not happen overnight. You go through trials and tribulation,
Right.
for friendships to build, and you really learn the good, the bad, and the ugly. when you're going through friendship. And if you're still there on the other side, that's when you know you have a friend. So,
And speaking of that, like, what is the most difficult part of a friendship? Anybody?
I think not being honest. When you're not honest and you're not saying exactly what it is on your mind, that's what kind of disrupts friendship. Because if you're telling someone else, if you're telling another individual about your so-called friend, and then whatever you say get back to your friend, that's going to become a problem. So it's always best to say what it is that you got to say to your friend versus you telling somebody else.
okay.
I think sometimes being in the middle, when you have two friends in the group who may not be seeing this or seeing eye to eye on an issue, and you're kind of stuck in the middle because you understand this friend's perspective, you understand this friend's perspective, and you wish that they both would just communicate and understand each other's perspective. So being stuck in the middle is hard for me.
Okay.
That's why I use the word loyal, because some people think just because you're loyal, you have to agree with everything and go along with everything that your friend says. And I think a loyal person will tell you what is right and needs to be done for that instance. It might not be what I want to hear, but it's the loyalty because I want your best interest at heart, because I don't want you to go down there and just be that way. But let's think about this in another way. Anybody else?
I think boundaries in friends, like all relationships, like a loving relationship, you gotta know what the boundaries are. And sometimes as friends it's difficult because you think you can be supporting them, but actually you can be hurting them at the same time. So you gotta be respectful that you can support them as your friend, but not always be in their business that's detrimental to all the other relationships.
And it takes time to learn those boundaries.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't happen overnight. You got to know how far they want you in their business.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
I think that if that's supposed to be your friend, your real friend, then your friend, no matter, I don't really think that there should be many boundaries, because if that's your friend, you should be able to feel comfortable enough to say to your friend, hey, you're wrong. Hey, this is what I think you need to work on. Not in a way, not in a sense of judging them, but just kind of caring for them and saying, hey, this is what I see about you, and I'm pretty sure if I see it, then other people else gonna see the same thing.
Now, okay, let's stay there for the honesty, and people can handle honesty. Because most of the time when you're honest with someone, they think you're coming at them being mean and all this kind of stuff. When you're just being very honest, because I know most of the time I do say stuff that's true, and people think I'm being mean, but I'm really just really truthful half the time.
You mean the no filter portion?
The no filter part, because some people, I tend to be one who's just going to say something direct, but it's whether or not your friend can accept it at that point.
But don't you think the way you say things to people, no filter, may be the way they take it, and that's why they take it the wrong way?
They could, but if we're friends, they know I don't really mean no.
And we're good, like, and I can be completely transparent with that person. And so I'm with DC, like, not many boundaries. I tend to cross them with my friends.
You crossed them with your friends.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back about people who have crossed the line.
Okay, we're back from commercial break, and we had something on the table. What was
We
it?
had crossing the line of friendship, the boundaries that may have been crossed.
Could be a lot of things.
Could be a lot of things. We're going to pick back up with Ken and say, have you had any experience with crossing the line, or someone crossed the line with you?
And so I started off with crossing the line, or actually crossing boundaries, but I think it should really be looked at in the context of breaking down the walls, because oftentimes when I have connections with people, sometimes people don't know that they can be their authentic self. And so because in this world you judge, walking out the door you judge. And so when you come into contact with other people, sometimes you have your guards up and you don't feel like you can be your authentic self. And then me, I'm authentically me all the time. And so, and I see things in other people, and so therefore there's something in me that reaches out. And so just to say, hey, it's okay you can be your authentic self. And so I'm usually that one that would drag people out of their comfort zone once we're in that one-on-one type of setting. So yes, I say it cross the line, but it's more so just really trying to tear down those walls so people can be open to be themselves.
So are there any things that you hold back from your friends?
I don't believe there's anything that I hold back from my friends. And so I have this thing that transparency is very key to me, because I'm definitely in my friend's business. So I say. So, but also, like, I ask a lot of questions, but that also means that when stuff goes down, I'm the one with the answers. And so people can come to me and ask me questions all they want. I'm that same open book that I really appreciate with people that I consider friends.
Now, I would have to ask the body, because I, to me personally, I know there's different degrees of friendships.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like your regular friends, then you have like your inner circle friends, which is what we are. Then you have like your core, like, you know, they are your true ride and die people who will be there through thick and thin. Now, some people don't have that core. They just have just a circle of friends. I mean, I fortunately have core friends, and I have a circle of friends, and I have just regular friends. And I know I have to navigate for three different things. And sometimes other friends get jealous of other relationships in the friendship.
And can I answer that? And I think you said something which is something that I try my best not to do. When you talk about the different, you said core friends, you said, what do you call it, like friend, and then you have some of the example that you use. Like, I truly believe that I don't use the word friends loosely. So if I consider you a friend, you're not more important than my relationship with Ken or my relationship with Deegan. I value Deegan's relationship equally as my relationship with Ken. So that's why anytime there is a situation where Ken will not say to me, hey, I don't like you being friends with Deegan, and I'm going to say, well, I'm gonna stop. Because I have an authentic relationship with Deegan separate from the authentic relationship that I have with Ken.
So what do you call the people who are not friends?
They're not friends.
What are they?
They're just people I know and I come across.
Okay.
So you're saying you don't believe in having degrees of friendship?
No.
You treat everybody equally?
No, if you become somebody that I consider to be a friend, then you are on the same level as the other person that I consider to be a friend.
I respect your viewpoint.
But there's a separate relationship. So it's not like I don't have a tiered system. The relationships are separate that I have with each and every one of you, and I try to develop that separate from the person that may have introduced me to you, or you may be together with, or whatever, in the situation of, like, let's say if you had a partner and I'm truly developing a relationship with your partner, then that relationship is separate from a relationship that I have with you. And anytime there's any situation between the two of y'all, I'm in the middle. I will hear you out when you call me, and I'll hear him out when he calls me, but I'm not going to ever take a side. It's always going to be an optimistic approach when I give any sort of viewpoint, and it's going to be based on what you tell me, and it's based on maybe on what he tells me. But I will never go in and say, hey, I think you should really do this because he shouldn't have done that. No, I'm simply going to be an ear, and if you ask me for my opinion, then I'll give it. But outside of that, it's not going to just be given.
Anybody else have a take on that, levels of friendship?
I think
Or think something different?
I think there is levels of friendships, and I say that just based on natural life experiences. You know, because you can kind of theorize that, you know, like we're all the same, but we're not. Some of my core friends are never people that are like at this table who like truly like know me. You know, and those are the people that give me advice, they're listening boards, but we're also respectful of each other's other relationships too. I'm an introvert, so often at times I have friends that are very extroverted, so I come into other people's worlds via other people's extroverted ways. And so, and I'm not the type of person that does groups. So I'm a one-on-one type of a person. So if I'm going to be kind of probably like DC slightly, that I may appear to be standoffish, but I'm not. It's just how I warm up to like my environment. period. And so, but I also know too that the people who really know me know that side to me, and don't judge me because of that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so, but at the same time, like my core friends, those that truly know me, are the ones that know everything about me. You know, and also still discovering things about myself as well too.
So before we got into levels of friends, we had a question on the table. It was crossing the line.
Crossing the line.
Crossing the line, and by doing what, how could your friends cross the line with you? What would they have to do? Give us 3 to 5 words. What would they do to cross the line of your friendship?
Sleeping with my partner.
Disloyal.
Betrayal.
Betrayal for me.
Yeah, betrayal and disloyal. I would say for me.
Ninja?
Ninja? Oh, okay. So I'm the ninja tonight. Okay, that's fine. So I would have to go with just dishonesty and not being transparent.
Okay. All right. I have to say I agree with those because I fortunately know I can. And if you're hearing some snoring in the background, it is our 4-legged friend, Ferris, who decided to come to the table and just go to sleep. So if you hear some snoring, it is our 4-legged friend, Ferris. So, but I think as far as crossing the line and being disrespectful is to me because, and I'm really about just being fair. I'm one of the ones who want everything to be fair no matter what. I'm just all about that. It got to be fair. So.
I mean, friends stop being friends for a myriad of reasons. And friends are hard to come by. So it's important that you savor those relationships and really try to get to know what your friend needs to be the best friend that they can be. So it's not only what you get from them, but it's also what you're providing for them.
But I also believe that a friend doesn't necessarily have to be a time and a place or a certain time, but it is that time that you needed at that time.
True.
So I have a friend that is really good for me, but we might not hear from each other for a year, but as soon as they call, we're right there. Versus someone who's in my life every day.
Right.
But it's that connection and what I need. It's a time and a place for everything. So it all depends on what you need from that friend at that time.
Because friendships are relationships, and sometimes friendships have a season.
Have a season.
Yep.
They do, and they go through things. So let's talk about that. So when we're dealing with this group, because this is a very colorful group, and how do we navigate through those tough situations? How do we navigate through it?
I would think that you would want to sit down and have a conversation, but to be really honest with you, this group don't do that. And that's the problem that I sort of have, is that you don't confront the issue at that moment. You go and speak to someone else behind their back about the individual, and then the individual end up and find out what it is that you had to say, and then you'll be mad if the individual come and confront you, and you sit back thinking like, how the heck you find this out? That's because this circle is only so darn big, and everybody is going to talk to each other. So my thing is just go ahead and confront the issue at that moment, and there won't be any hard feelings or not a misunderstanding, so that the friendship could continue to move on.
I think it's about communication. I think you have to be careful because I think we all know each other, and I think sometimes I know how certain people will receive information. So it's being hard to try to navigate and try to figure out the right words to say.
Give us an example, Corey.
Well, sometimes given a time or a moment, even during a cabin trip, we may want to say something to a friend, but we don't have the right words to say without us coming off as being a bitch. And so sometimes we may choose another leader in the group, like Deegan, and say, you know what, Deegan, I need for you to go have a conversation with so-and-so. And so sometimes that happens, and you don't know how to have the right words to put out there.
I believe what you said, and it's the time and the place, because I, being newer to the group, has not established that role friendship, and then we all will assume that somebody will automatically say that. So it's a time and a place, because I need for the situation to cool down first, so that you hear what I say and not react to it, because it's always reacting to it and not hearing. That's why a lot of the communication is lost, because you have already stopped up your ears so that someone can communicate in a calmer way so that we hear it versus in anger.
Now, would y'all say that this is a situation with just men of color or gay men, or is this just something worldwide? Because our audience, we just want to make sure that we're educating our audience.
So what I will say to that is kind of echoing what Kareem and Deegan said. I also think that another important aspect to look at is we have to also realize it's not a one solution fits all kind of a thing. So, for example, Deegan might be able to come to me in the moment when something happened and say something to me and I receive it. But he might not be able to use that same tactic with Ken or Kareem. You know, Kareem might needs to cool down first before you approach him. Or Ken you might have to talk to him 2 days from now. So I think it's very important to not necessarily approach everyone the same way. I remember even saying that to my basketball coach, when I was in college. Like, his whole thing was, where I'm gonna yell to motivate you. And the issue is that you got some people who responds to the yelling. You yell at them, they play better. And then you have some players, you yell at them and they shut down.
Okay.
So,
I was just wondering if I can jump in there, because I agree 100%. And so what I like to say is that no, it is just not pertaining to gay or male, but communication is for life. And I think what we need to understand is that the approach that I use, I think it works for me. So just throwing out there, and you guys can try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But for example, I just say everybody is correct. And so I think all the time we argue because we're trying to force our viewpoint on other people. And so regardless of whatever the situation is, everyone is correct, because we all see life through the lens of our experiences. And so it's just understanding your side versus my side, and then figuring out, okay, I do understand why you think that way, or how you could have come up with that, versus you're wrong and this is my thought and this is it. So that's just it, just trying to understand people from where they're coming from.
All right, I think we're going to take another one of our commercial breaks, because we do have to pay some bills around here. So we'll be right back. And I've been appreciating this conversation. It's been very candid. Thank all y'all for being very open, but we've got to turn the corner a little bit. Go ahead. Tell them what's the next question.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Then you go.
No, you go.
Okay, so here's my question. We are all from different walks of life, and we have friends from different walks of life. But how would you categorize in one word what most of your friends are, or how would you name them? Like, is most of your friends athletes? Because we do have some athletes, and we have a dancer on the panel. So most of your friends are what? Ken?
Oh wow, I would say professionals.
DC?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say professional as well.
Kareem?
Educators.
Very diverse.
Very diverse.
very diverse and regular people, actually.
Okay, regular.
Creative.
Creative. Love that. What about you, Bryce?
I don't know. I have to take a poll on that, because most of the people I come into typically are in the educational field, are more professional.
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe that's just what I'm attracted to.
Most of my friends are sensitive to the needs of other people.
Okay. Maybe we could sing that song, Sensitivity.
Sing it.
I don't have the right background vocals today.
Thank you. Now, what's your question?
Now, I just want to know, because, we're all here, most of us are single. How do you handle if your friends start dating and they get pulled away?
Oh, that's a good question.
I wouldn't mind starting with that, because I would actually like to answer that on the flip. And so I've been in several relationships in my career, and sometimes you have those people who
once they're in a relationship, don't have time for their friends. But I'm not that person. I always have time for those people who are my core set of friends, as some of you guys would describe them. So it never interferes.
Okay. DC?
I'm not single, and AJ can attest to this, but I'm not single. But for the most part, my friends are okay the fact that I'm in a relationship, and they already know that I have time for them. So I don't pull myself away from my friends, because sometimes I need a break from my partner. And I go right home to DC to visit them, hang out with them for the weekend, but I know what home is.
Okay. Kareem?
I'm single, so whenever I do get into that moment to where two friends are together that may have been brought in and they start to drift away from each other, I stay connected to them both. Because once I build a connection or relationship with you, I got that that relationship piece already there. So if I built that rapport, it stays there.
Okay, Milton.
I think this is the part for me. It's the thing, what I mentioned earlier about boundaries. I think both as the friend that has a new relationship and the friend that's still a single, because I'm single, by the way. But sometimes you got to allow for that new relationship to develop itself on its own, and to allow it to go naturally on its own without still trying to retain and be the most important person in that relationship when they're down into a new relationship.
But it does, the relationships with your friends kind of have to change.
They should.
At some point.
They should.
Because you now have a significant other.
Because, like, I have a friend, y'all know my best friend, he's in a relationship and started a relationship with another person back in February. And we were like thieves in the night. We was always together all the time. Mm-hmm. And once this relationship started and I found myself in another pool of different friends, was being pulled with other people, it became a problem between us because I wasn't there no more. And I didn't really want to be there no more because I wanted you to go ahead and start your relationship and let it go ahead and blossom. So when he found that I was coming down here, he questioned it a couple of times, you know, but life just moves on. We do different things.
I'm in that same kind of way. I'm always there for other people. And when I take my attention away and go somewhere else, they question it. Well, why are you doing that? Because I want you to have that freedom to get your relationship together without the sidebar. But because they're so used to always having me at any time of the day, even if I had someone at the time, it was difficult on the other side because they always wanted their time.
So I'm gonna add to my thought on that is I never worry. I look at a relationship, I look at a friendship in the same way of how you would look at a relationship, where if you trust the connection or the relationship that you have with that person, then it shouldn't matter if there's the introduction of a new person in that person's life. Like, it's not gonna change anything. Yes, you might talk to them less. Yes, you might hang out less, go to the movies less, whatever. But at the end of the day, the relationship never changes. And that if you really trust in that aspect, then you never have to feel like, oh, now you don't have time for me because you're acting brand new. You know, we like to say that. And that's the approach I take. So as Ken says, he has been in some relationships. Let me clarify for the record. He has been in some relationships. But, and as he said, and I can attest to that, like, I never feel like, oh, I'm not important or whatever. You know, like, he is still made sure that he still check up and so forth. And I do know what goes on in the relationship. If I'm gonna be honest on this panel, sometimes I can be a little taken aback. But then, to my point, he never makes me feel guilty for focusing on the relationship that I'm in.
So here's a question. What if you have a friend and you don't like their partner? How does that work for you?
Can I just answer real quick?
Sure, since you
it's
got
none
the
of my
mic.
goddamn business. Because it's not my partner.
Okay.
And I believe that no matter what anybody else says, those people are in that relationship and they can only make it or break it, no matter what anybody else has said, because my voice doesn't matter because you're in that relationship and y'all are saying what happens.
Now that's true. Now I've been in a situation where I was pulled in as a sounding board and I was like, oh, I gotta step out. I cannot do this because it's not my relationship. So I understand what everybody's saying, but it's a very fine line to walk. Because you try not to input anything. It's like, nope, I'm not, I can't, I won't, I can't.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you are friends with someone and they trust your opinion, value your opinion, I don't think that they should be offended by anything that you have to say, in that about that relationship. Now, if they ask you, like they brought you into it, you should be able to say what it is that you want to say, and neither one of them should get offended or whatever.
No, I didn't say they would necessarily get offended. I know I have a strong voice, so I don't want to weigh any situation one way or the other. Because of my opinion, I don't think my opinion shouldn't be that strong, because I know I'm a strong personality, so I try to take myself out of it so they can form their own and work it out.
But the point of it is, you said that they brought you into it, and if they brought you into it, then evidently they're willing to hear what you have to say and accept what it is that you have to say.
I understand that, but I gracefully bowed out.
But to add to all of that, like, I think as friends we typically have good intentions when we try to say to our best friend or whatever, when they get involved with somebody, I think for the most part we have good intentions. I don't think anyone at this table can say, oh, I'm jealous of my friend because he got in a relationship now, so I'm gonna try to sabotage it. I think in that same sentiment, I feel like we inadvertently say stuff that does contribute to friction and does contribute to people feeling, alienated or feeling outcast, either by the friends or it starts stuff in the relationship. So I feel like as a friend who is on the outside of your friend being in a relationship with somebody, like, you have to be very careful how you say stuff and even your choice of words, because you don't want to come across like you're trying to sabotage the relationship.
Okay. I have another question on the table. How do you handle when your friendship season is over and you and your friend are no longer friends? Like, how does that make you feel? What does that make you do? How do you handle that?
Well, since it's quiet, I'll start and then, let someone else formulate. So I've had a situation like that where I was friends with someone for almost 15 years, and then that friendship came to an end. And it was a very disappointing time because, of course, after 15 years, you kind of feel like you have something really solid, this person, and that long you would think friendships for life, right? At least that's what I thought. So it was difficult, but it was that whole positive self-thinking and saying to yourself, like, okay, understanding. Sometimes seasons may be 5 years, or they could be 15 years, but in the grand scheme of things, when it's over, and you have to know where your exit is in life, because once you miss it, you have a whole lot of friction, that undue friction that you don't necessarily need in your life. And so it was just recognizing, okay, yeah, this is really the season for this to end, and just be okay with that. Just be okay with wherever your life path takes you.
In 30 seconds.
And just real quick, but I feel like for me, I don't necessarily feel like my friendships as a season, meaning that, it just dwindles away. I feel like people typically do something to cause it to end. And at that point, you have to make that determination that, are you going to trust this person, or are you going to graciously bow out and say, you don't have my best interest at heart anymore.
Thank you. Deegan?
I feel there's always a season for everything, and you have to take it and bow out with it as it goes along, and use it as a learning tool that you can only do because no matter how much I want you,
Exactly right.
when it's over.
Accept when the season is over and value the things that you learned from that friendship, because everybody I've had a friendship or connection with, even if it was just for a season, I've learned something from it. So just accept the fact that it's over, but value the things that you learned from it.
That's you have a takeaway from every relationship.
I just recently kind of went through that with someone that I've been friends with for about 8-9 years, and just some of the things that they were doing and some of the things that they were saying to me, I didn't agree with. So it just really got to the point where we just kind of like stopped texting each other and stopped communicating with each other. So so sometimes I agree with, Deacon, is that, every relationship have somewhat of a season, and at this point our season is basically, going, our separate ways, and maybe later down the line we'll be friends again, but at this point, no.
So, friends, how many of us have them? Sounds like we all have some friends.
We have friends. I'm just going to touch on that before we close out for the day. Is that, and for our listeners, when your season for your friendship, just like your season for a relationship, it's okay to mourn the relationship and the friendship. It's okay. It's just like a death. You have to go through those steps in order to move on. So definitely make sure you take the time, reflect on it, and go through that process so that you can move on in a healthy state instead of being jealous and vindictive about that, so you can move on in a more healthier pattern. So I have a bunch of friends.
Right. I just want to be transparent and just say that this group of friends is very deep, very encouraging. We have a lot of trust within us. Most people are transparent.
And we have a lot of extra producers.
Exactly. Yeah, we have some bossy friends.
I have to say, in this group, most of them are bosses.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unique to have this kind of group with a bunch of, I'm going to take that back, not bosses. We have a bunch of leaders in this group. But the smart thing about us is that we know when to fall back and let someone else lead. So
most of us know.
Most of us, even and I'm a strong.
Some of us don't.
And when I don't want to lead, I usually defer to one person, Kareem, who usually can shut everything down, even me sometimes, which is a big thing to do. But I appreciate all y'all. Even we have a couple friends who are not mic'd; they're in the background. And we appreciate them for just sitting there quietly, at least one of them.
And to our listeners, we just hope that you have been able to take something away from this conversation. Please make sure you share us. We're on multiple platforms to include
Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google Play.
And he lost it because it's like
and
10
many
of
more. It's like 10 of them.
And we have, and since this is our third season, we just want to go ahead and just put a pat on our back that we are now expanding our listenership, and we're now
into 10 different countries around the world.
10 different countries around the world. So we are booming and grooming, but we need your support. So we will make sure that you like and share all this, and go back and review those if you're a first-time listener, because this is our first podcast for our third season of
Filter
No Filter Brothers.
See ya. Thanks for listening. You can always find us on Instagram, Spotify, and Anchor at Filter No Filter Brothers.
Also on Facebook at AJ and Bryce Filter No Filter Brothers. And if you'd like to email us, we have AJ and Bryce 51 at gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you soon.